Good afternoon. This is November the 23rd, and it's Tuesday at noontime. This is the do-over of my Tuesday noontime live feed here on YouTube for One Quilting Circle. This is Linda Pearl, and I am a stash quilter, and today's topic is how to take your stash and come up with some really interesting and exciting and different takes on holiday gift giving, because as much as I love my fabric, I don't have to, every quilt does not need to be a, um, every gift does not need to be a quilt. So this is a start of something that I did last night and my Monday night mini session. That is something we do every Monday night here on One Quilting Circle. And before I forget, if you like the content here and you would love to be notified of what we're doing, if you can like or subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, we will let you know when we go live. And it is every Tuesday, usually at noontime. Today it is 12:30 because I did an oopsie before. So this is take two of what I'm doing on this. Last night I did what was supposed to be 5 great gifts from your stash and has actually morphed into a list of, I think it's 16 or 17 different ideas. And this is a topic that I didn't cover last night. It's an enhancement for one of the ideas. Um, I'm one of those people that when the holidays come, I tend to think of cooking and I think of cooking, I think of people, I think of memories of other people that I have known along the line, cooking and such. And one of the ideas that you can do is that you can actually make an apron of many different kinds, depending on what you have for stash and who needs a gift on your holiday gift giving list. You could have one of the things that I want to do when my grands are a little bit older is host a holiday cookie baking day. And I have visions of everybody getting aprons and there'll be flour going and it'll be fun. And this is one thing that you can do to take your holiday, your favorite apron, and personalize it with an heirloom. Um, this is going to be a detailed blog post today over on One Quilting Circle in terms of how to walk you through how to do this. Today's YouTube Live is going to be talking about how you actually take what is in your recipe box, which in this case was a recipe that my great aunt by marriage had given me when I was a dooleywood, and it's been a family favorite. Taking this and turning it into, well, okay, so we have several versions here. You take it and turn it into, because it's a two-sided recipe. I don't know if you could catch that. You take the recipe card, you take it and create a Word document out of it. This is printed on paper. What you're going to do is you're going to turn around and you're going to take some of your stash fabric and you're going to cut your stash the same size as the printer paper. You're going to back it with freezer paper and you're going to feed it through your printer, and you are going to have the recipe come out printed on fabric. Now, I have used this methodology many times. I have used this to make quilt labels for years. It's very versatile and very easy to work with. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take Jane's handwriting um, in the recipe, and I'm going to use it to create a pocket on the apron that I'm going to make. And it's going to turn into a fabulous, quick and easy gift. And they're going to be like, oh my goodness. You take the ingredients for the recipe, you make a couple of different aprons. You've got new memories, wonderful memories of the person who you're using this for. And it's something that it knows that it took time and effort to think of this, to do the prep work for it, and go. And I'm saying that to do the pocket of what I'm going to show you today is probably going to take you an hour. If you had several to do, you can stack them up and just kind of whip through them and go from there. If you have a bunch of these to do, you could use a service such as Spoonflower to go and have them all print this for you on fabric. When you come back, you're going to cut them, create the patterns and whatever you're going to do. this is a solution if you have a handful, one, two, or three, or whatever. This is stuff you can do on a snowy Saturday afternoon. Um, put some holiday music on, put dinner in the crock pot, and just go to town and you can bang these out. And you're going to have things that are personal. They're going to make people smile when you give them to them because they're going to know that it was something that made you think of them, and it's going to be easy to do. So, what we're going to start by doing, and I know that there are softwares that are going to allow me eventually to get to do multi camera formats. We're not there yet. And 2 days before Thanksgiving, I don't think we're getting there today. So, I'm going to walk you through this. There's a blog post that's going to come with detailed instructions on how I did this, and we're going to go from there. Um, this is the kind of content that you're going to get by subscribing to the channel. So I'm starting with a recipe that came out of my recipe book. This happens to be a two-sided recipe. What I did was my printer scanner copier, I scanned this into my computer as a photograph. And then what I did was I took the photograph for side one and the photograph for side two and put it into a Word document. I work with Windows-based software. I'm sure you can do the same thing with a Mac. This is very elementary computer skill. It's you should be able to do this no matter what. But so what I've done is I've created the JPEGs and I have fit this so that it's one piece of paper on my going through my computer. That's important because it's also one piece of fabric going through my computer. So I don't have to worry about getting things lined up, mismatched, or anything else. You could absolutely do this with more than one. It's just keeping this easy for the purpose of the demonstration. The only thing you can see is this is actually, I enlarged it slightly because when I put the original thing through, this is the original 100%. And when I looked at it, it's like, okay, that might be a little bit tight on the lines and just in terms of how small. So what I did was I enlarged it by about 20% and just made it a little bit wider. And when I looked at it, I realized that the top line of the second piece is going to be a stitching line. So I went in and before I printed this, I added one more line to what I was doing on the the document, and the spacing was fine for me for what I wanted to do. This is definitely trial and error. This is definitely something that you want to be able to figure out. Now, if we're working with a holiday apron, I would strongly suggest printing this on some kind of a solid fabric. Whatever you have available will work. This is something I printed on Kona Snow, and it shows up fine. Although if you look at it, you can see the discoloration of the fabric that is the index card for the original pattern. Okay, I did it also on a gray sheet because I wanted to see how it would look. And you can see a little bit of the index card, but either one of those would work. I would not use a tone on tone for this because I think it would make reading the handwriting that much more difficult. It's your choice. You can do whatever you're going to do. You're going to take a piece of whatever solid you're going to work with, and you're going to cut it slightly larger, maybe an eighth of an inch all the way around, than your 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. You're then going to take a piece of freezer paper of approximately the same dimensions and iron the freezer paper to the back of your fabric with the shiny side of the freezer paper down. You're going to, I'm going to get rid of this. Okay. So that you have a piece of paper that is backed, and you're going to convince your computer printer that it's a thick piece of cardstock. You're going to iron it down with a dry iron. If you use it on a steam setting, what happens is the moisture that comes out from the iron is going to create the paper in the freezer paper to create little bubbles in your pockets, and you're not going to get as good a result as you would have if you used a dry iron. So you're going to dry iron it down. You're going to take a piece of computer paper and you're going to lay it down, and you're going to absolutely trim this so that it is 8.5 by 11, the exact same dimensions as the paper going through your printer. The last step you're going to do is you're going to take that same dry iron and you're going to go around the edges of your fabric / freezer paper package. I'm not sure exactly what the terminology is, but you're going to put them together and you're going to let them cool completely. In times that I have had hiccups with this process, it usually boils down to I was not willing to wait long enough for everything to cool down, and your printer can handle the thickness of paper plus freezer paper. It cannot handle the heat. The heat will throw this off and you'll have a mess. So let it cool down. You're good to go. Put it into your paper tray, and I use a 5530, which is an HP printer. It's front loading. What I do is I put it in with the fabric side down, freezer paper side up. And what happens is it goes through the computer printer and rolls up and out so that the printer comes out flipped, so that when it goes through the print heads, it's printing on the fabric. You might have to try, unless you know which side this is, you might want to do a test on your printer. And what I would do is take a piece of paper, mark an X on it on the back of it, send it through the printer and see where it comes out. If the paper comes out with the X on the back of it, it's going to print on the front and you're good to go. If it comes out for some reason, it comes up on top, then you have to re-engineer things and kind of tweak it a little bit more. But most of them I think are going to come in, go through the print heads and come out the other side. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that that works. That's the most logistically challenging piece of the whole thing. And once you know which way everything is printing, you're fine. So I did that, and my recipe on the cone of snow came out looking fine. Now it came out a little bit on the top of that, but that's going to get trimmed away anyway. So I'm still going to use this. Jane has a niece that is going to get a gift with this going into the printer. So what you're going to do at that point is you're going to trim this down to the approximate size you're going to want for your pocket. And this is driven by the fact that this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and I've basically made this no bigger than 4 and change. So that might be something that you want to tweak about, and you could always do this so that you did one side of the recipe on one sheet of paper, and you can customize this as much as you want. This is what worked for me. What I did was I trimmed on the gray sheet, on the gray fabric, I trimmed it down, and I took a piece of Christmas fabric from my stash, and I created a pocket lining. And I used something that would be light enough that when you put it against the printed recipe, you could still read the recipe. That would be the only thing you could do. You could do a light colored tone on tone on this and it would be just fine. It wouldn't be an issue. So it's whatever you have available as a scrap. And you don't even have to make these match. You could use one lining for one side of the recipe, and if you had something else, you could do it on a different side. That's totally up to you. You can personalize this however you want. So what you're going to do is you're going to line up the two pieces and you're going to stitch the top and you're going to stitch down each of the sides. You're going to turn these two pieces inside out. I can't say the magic of TV, magic of videoing at this point, but this is where you're going. And because of how you've done this, you now have a finished edge for your pocket on the top and sides here. Now, if you were going to do somebody my size, I would do probably both. I would probably do it like this so that you're seeing the front of the card and the back of the card and you're seeing them next to each other. You could, in fact, do two pockets. You could do a deeper pocket. You could do whatever, however you wanted to do. Um, but this is the way that I would approach this. And at this point, if you pretend that this is my apron pattern and I know exactly where I want my pocket to go on this, because I've laid it out with chalk lines, then what I would do would be to lay this face down, and you're going to stitch this seam line here, which is going to finish the fourth side of this. Pop it up. That's magic of YouTube. Okay. And you're now going to stitch down the two sides of the pocket. At that point, you have a finished edge up here. You have a functional pocket so that if you had to put something in there, you can do that. And you now have a gift that is homemade, that is personalized and works really well for you. Now, you could do this for holiday baking, you could do this for pie making day, cookie swap day, you can do a lot of things like that. But you could take a masculine print, a solid, a pinstripe, whatever, and if the gentleman that is the cook in your family has a killer recipe for ribs or barbecue or beer or whatever he wants to do, you could use that as the basis of this. It doesn't have to be a handmade recipe card. It could actually be something printed off on your computer. I've done that. I've used the same logic when I've done computer labels. Quilting labels, where I want to put as much information on there as I can. That's another solution for this. This just takes an apron and elevates it, makes it more personal, something from your stash, your creativity. I have done this particular transfer with the printer probably 2 dozen times, and I have never had a problem. I have never had a problem with the ink running. I have never had the problem with the ink not staying set. I have had a lot of practice with doing this. So that is the way that I would go about taking a recipe card and adding it to a holiday gift. In this case, it might be a little difficult for me to find fresh rhubarb in New England in December. But this would be a great idea for somebody for Mother's Day when rhubarb is coming out or something like that. And it's just a great way to be able to share the memories. And, Jane's handwriting is very, very distinctive in the family. It's why I don't have that it came from Jane, because I know it's her handwriting, um, and such like that. So that's the idea that's there. There'll be a blog post later on today on One Quilting Circle, and that will give you complete directions on how to do this. I ran it through kind of fast. It will also take you to a link on my website where you can download the 17 ideas for holiday gift giving, so you can take it, check them out, or whatever. I'm all about getting you through the gift giving and back to the enjoying people, enjoying friends, playing with your fabric. And I hope you're back with me next week, and will come back and join me at noontime, where I will have run the test the first time. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday weekend and enjoy your Thanksgiving dinner. I will see you again next week. Thank you. And okay.